All right, I want to record this in case I want to share it because I know this can be good information with Paige. I can't see everybody on this little bitty screen because I'm on this laptop today, but I want to do a little bit of housekeeping stuff real quick. And I'm going to put it in. I'll put it in at the end of the call too. So I'm going to cut and paste. We've got, first off, we got Paige. I want to welcome her to the call. She's going to teach us how to do loans because we don't know anything about them. I don't know nothing about loans. Don't know anything about this appraisal gap stuff either. But a little bit of housekeeping. We have, I'm going to put it in the chat now, and then I'll cut and paste it for people that come on after this time. We have the Super Mike Coach call Friday. We have production call, all about production on Thursday. And then we got the book club Friday morning and a few other little things going on. Let me make this smaller so I can go copy and paste this stuff right here. Here's the links for the Super Mike call. So you guys can put it in your schedule. This is a coach that we pay to help you guys increase your production. So I'm gonna paste it right here. That should be all the calls. If you guys can see that, somebody say yes.
Yes.
All right, good deal. So there's Friday Super Mike call. It's all on Zoom. There's the others. There's all 3 dates right there, starting like Friday 8th. And then this is a production call. Nope, here's the production call link right there. Agent to CEOunstuck.com. And that call is how to get listings. Oh, and bought by hedge funds. So that's the.
Where is this at?
You what?
Where?
It's in the chat box. Do you see the chat box?
Yeah.
Up at the top, it says Thursday. It's all about production time, 12 Eastern. This week's topic, how to get listings and how to get them sold to our hedge funds. So we've got several different hedge funds. So if anybody has anything that's off market, that might be a little bit of a difficult deal and somebody needs to get out of it, let us know. Different hedge funds. Okay, Paige, thank you for being here. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. What an honor. And I'm just here to help you guys close more houses and find some creative solutions to the problems that you are experiencing today. And one of those big ones I know is appraisals coming in below contract prices. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
All right. And houses are, like you guys see day in and day out, buyers are having to bid over ask. And sometimes the houses appraise, sometimes they don't. Like Bonnie, y'all were talking with Bonnie just a minute ago, getting an appraiser in can be a little bit of a challenge. And part of it is, I think there's been some appraisers that have left the business. From some of the things that I've heard from our appraisal management company is, they're busy doing refinances. They are picking and choosing which houses that they want to go do. They're not getting outside their little territory. They're getting pickier and pickier now because of gas prices. And so getting an appraisal in a timely manner can be a little bit of a challenge, but that's kind of outside what we can control. And one of my favorite sayings is control the controllables. And one of the things that I can help you guys do is save deals in case the appraisal comes in less than the contract price. And many buyers believe that they've only got a few options. One, try to renegotiate with the seller. And if you're representing the seller, you don't want to do that. Two, come to the table with a dollar for dollar difference in the difference between the appraised price and the contract price. And in some cases they do, but in many cases they don't. And that's where my appraisal gap strategy comes in. And then the third option that buyers think that they have, or only other option that they have, is to back out of the contract. And they are fighting too hard to get under contract in the first place. They've fallen in love with this house. It's probably the 6th or 7th house they've fallen in love with. So the last thing you want to do is to have that deal unravel and have to have that buyer start over. So has everybody seen the appraisal gap strategy video or Facebook Live that Bonnie and I did last week?
I saw part of it.
Okay. How about I share that and just go over it real quick? give me just a
You know,
second.
like we were just talking about, it is crazy. Like we have people leaving California, but they're all moving to different states. But in California, they still have a housing shortage. Like, I don't understand how that happens. Maybe it's because they can't build. I don't know. But then you've got still in New York, everybody's leaving New York and New Jersey, housing shortage. It's not like we had a fire. And now we have a shortage of appraisers.
Mhm.
But that's the best
Maybe the
explanation.
appraisers are leaving too.
What?
Hey, Daniel,
Maybe
it
the
took me a
appraisers
while
are-
to figure this out. You know what I think's going on? What I think's going on
Government's
is that
behind
there's not, I think there's the same number of buyers. There's just people just aren't selling their house because the inventories are so low that there's not more buyers. There's just more buyers per house. And so that's driving up prices. And that's why in California, for example, even though people are moving out, a lot of people are not selling their house there either. So housing prices are going up there too. So I think that's what's happening. It's a supply problem. The supply is not meeting the demand. The new builders aren't coming out and filling out the houses either. So there's no new supply coming into the market. So I think that's what's happening.
Us, we're not creating more dirt. Like,
Mhm.
you know, they're not getting more. There's no way to increase land. And some of your landowners have refused to, like, we're sitting on 20 acres. We ain't selling. Because there's nowhere I can get this for what I could get even in price. So, you know, you got people that do have acreage that don't want to sell.
That's what's keeping the pent up supply. That's what's keeping the supply down so low. But what happened to the appraisers? I guess the best answer is they're just doing refis because people are pulling refis. Paige, do you think that we will see in Atlanta the 40 and 45 year terms like they have in California on our mortgages?
We actually have 40-year terms on some of the loans that we can offer.
I mean, some people are going to they can't afford to buy the houses. But anyway, I don't want to make our call too long today.
Mhm.
I'll stop talking.
That's okay. Eric, you are actually very observant, and I think y'all are onto something. Let's talk statistics just for a second and what's going on nationwide. So I work for Movement Mortgage. We operate in all 50 states. Personally, I'm licensed in North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So I am in constant conversation with loan officers and real estate agents. I actually used to be a real estate agent, which was how Bonnie and I know each other. I sold there in the Atlanta market, started selling in 1994. So it's only been in the last couple of years when I moved up to our North Carolina home that I got into mortgages rather than restarting my real estate career in a brand new state. And so I'm looking at what's going on in the market through the lens of one, this feels an awful lot like what was going on in 2008 when I was selling. My husband was a contractor and we had kids at home. So I'm kind of looking at it through that lens going, do we have a similar setup that's going on? Short answer is no. There's only one thing that's similar, and that's the price of homes going up very, very quickly like we saw then. That's a whole different conversation. But I'm also looking at it from what's going on around the country. Real estate is local, your inventory is local, but you can take a look at it from a more global standpoint or more national standpoint, kind of get a glimpse of what's going on in kind of the movement. California is one of those areas that you can always look at what's going on in California. Florida is another one, as a forerunner of what's going to hit the rest of the country. But it truly is a supply problem. The last stat that I heard was January numbers. There was less than 900,000 homes currently for sale across the country, with more than 12 to 13 million new home formations. And that is buyers entering the market, whether that is a first-time home buyer or like where if you've got a divorce situation where you've had two people sharing a home and now it's going to be one of those persons is going to be moving out and need a second home. So out of those 12 to 13 million homes, what is not counted in that number are people that are moving up, people that have one home that they're selling and they're buying another home because they're not taking a home from the inventory. they may be buying a different price range, but they're giving back a home. So those buyers are not counted in those numbers. So there is definitely a demand, a higher demand than what we have is in supply. But when you look at some of the stats for how many homes are sold, Eric, you are exactly right. It is a similar, not exact, but it is a very similar number to homes being sold than has always been sold. And kind of on the flip side of that, one of the things that years ago, I was with a big Keller Williams group, and they hired a statistician to present what was going on in the market and take a deeper dive into the numbers, not just what FMLS was showing, but a deeper dive in kind of peeling some of the layers of the onion back to see the why behind the what. And one of the things that they discovered back in 2011 was it was the same number of homes being sold then too, except then it was an oversupply. It wasn't that the demand was drastically different. It was slightly different, but there was the same number of homes, and it was a graph that they put together that you could see. They called it the American Idol slide, and it showed, you had all these sellers that thought they could sell and that weren't successful, but you had this bottom bar that showed the consistency of the homes that were selling, the buyers and sellers that were successful through the course of time. And it surprisingly didn't change a whole lot. And that was a real aha moment for me, and perhaps another call. And I've showed this to Bonnie over the years. One of the things that had a dramatic difference in my real estate career, particularly shifting a mindset from being a buyer's agent to a listing agent, was a presentation that I put together and just a conversation that I could have and have the paper in front of me to illustrate what I wanted to share with the sellers, in that the correlation between the money they were going to put in their pocket and the length of time on the market. And that was a real turning point for me, but it came from looking at some of the dynamics that were going on in the market. So that might be something. Right now, I know listings are selling as fast as you're putting them on the market. So it's kind of a flip conversation. If you've got buyers that think they're going to enter the market and try to negotiate down on the price, particularly on a house that's been on the market for 12 hours, could give you some tools to have a conversation with them to give them the reality of what's going on before you've spent hours and hours and hours driving around showing them houses.
Can you share your screen and show us the numbers? I think Daniel will have to let you.
Yep, Daniel, if you will allow me to share my screen, I'm ready to show you the appraisal gap strategy and walk you through that.
It should be already.
Okay, yep, there it is. All right. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what we are looking at here, let me just kind of give you, this is the illustration that I had done for Bonnie. And this is assuming purchase price of $360. First column here is purchase price of $360, and the appraisal comes in at $360. That's what everybody's hoping for. This particular buyer is putting 20% down, puts his loan amount at $288. His down payment at $72,000. Jump down here to the total cash to close. This buyer has already committed and is mentally prepared to bring to closing roughly $82,000. The monthly payment kind of up a couple little bars here. His total monthly payment, PITI, $1,960 a month. The question comes in, what happens if the house doesn't appraise? Assuming that this buyer has got a little extra money that they can bring to the table to cover that appraisal gap, because that's what they believe, the buyer's agent believes, and the buyer believes that if I'm going to close on this house, I have to come with that gap in additional funds to closing. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's say the house appraises at $340. There's a $20,000 appraisal gap right there. So the loan to value is always based on the lesser of the purchase price or the appraised value. So over here on the left, the loan to value, that 20% loan to value or 80% loan to value with 20% down is based on a purchase price of 360. Well, now the value is the lower number. So this buyer wants to put the 20% down still. They don't want to pay mortgage insurance. So they're going to have 20% down or 80% of this 340. That puts their loan amount at 272. Interest rate changes just ever so slightly because the loan amount's lower. Their monthly payment, $1,850. It's about $90 less. Look down here at this bottom line. Their cash to close is now almost $98,000. Whole lot more than this 82 that they were prepared to spend.
And why is that? Can you go into that?
That's the appraisal gap, because that's their 20% down. That's their closing costs. That's their prepaids, plus the difference between the appraisal and the contract price. So that is them coming to the closing table with a dollar for dollar difference between the appraisal gap and the contract price. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's look at the appraisal gap strategy. And this is just, it is a very simple restructure of the loan. So purchase price still is 360, value is still 340, but we're going to, instead of putting 20% down of the 340, we're going to have the buyer do, I think this scenario is 15% down. So we're going to keep the loan amount very similar to the first scenario over here that they had already committed to. So the loan amount is going to stay at 289. The down payment, and this down payment, part of this $71,000 is the down payment, but we're going to shift. We're going to take part of what they had, this 20% that they had already mentally committed to. We're going to take that payment and we're going to split that payment up. They're going to have less that goes to the actual down payment. And we're going to shift some of those funds to cover that appraisal gap, but have that total number is going to be about the same. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what we're going to do, so now they're putting less than 20% down. They're going to have to pay mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance is a 4-letter word for most real estate agents and for most buyers. Let me help kind of take that away from you. Mortgage insurance, nobody wants to pay something that they don't absolutely have to pay. But mortgage insurance does a couple things for the buyer that they just don't even realize the benefits of it. Yes, it lowers the risk to the lender, which is the ultimate reason why they're paying that. But what it does for the buyer is it allows the buyer to come to closing without having to put 20% down. If it weren't for mortgage insurance, everybody would have to be putting a minimum of 20% down. So that mortgage insurance allows them to come to the closing table with less than that 20% down, but because it lowers the risk to the lender, interest rates are risk-based pricing, so the interest rate comes down. So buyers always think, or the buyers I talk to anyhow, always think, oh, I'm putting 20% down, I'm going to get a better interest rate than if I were to put 15% down. And that is absolutely not true. The risk to the lender is higher on an 80% loan to value. So look at the difference. This particular, the day that I ran these numbers, 20% down was 5 1/8. 15% down was below 5%. So significant savings in interest, both monthly as well as over time. Their total monthly expenses, $1,919, less than over here than if everything went perfectly. Their total cash to close, $81,600. It's actually $350 more than if that house appraised at the full contract price. Lower monthly payment, lower interest rate, cash to close within a couple $100. And these people still got their dream home.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win, and you get a commission check, the buyer's agent gets a commission check, and the seller's happy, the buyer's happy, the loan officer's happy. And this is just a huge win-win. It is a very, very simple restructure of the loan. Every single loan officer should know how to do this. Unfortunately, they don't.
So
What
where,
we have done here is a single premium mortgage insurance. For a buyer that does not want to pay monthly mortgage insurance, that is not the only option. There are options to pay a one-time upfront single premium for this mortgage insurance for this particular buyer, because the credit was, they had good credit, was all of $1,500. And that's rolled into this number down here.
Wouldn't this only work if they were willing to put 20% down though?
Great question. They do need to be putting less than the minimum down. So we've got to have room to be able to increase that loan to value. So, you know, if somebody's doing a 3% conventional loan, and FHA loan putting the 3.5% down, doing a VA loan with 100% or USDA with 100%, I got nowhere to go. But if they were doing less than that minimum, even if they're doing as little as 5%, and we've got room to be able to go up to a 3.5% or 3%, we can restructure it. The numbers don't come out as beautiful as they are here, but it still keeps them from having to come to the closing table with a dollar for dollar difference.
Okay.
Ideally, they're putting 10% or more down.
So I actually have one. They're willing to put, I think, about 30,000 down, and it's a $240,000 purchase price, which was 15K over list. I did put in a special steps 5,000 appraisal gap. So if it come into an appraisal issue, which I'm fairly certain we will, how should I tell the lender to structure it so it's more beneficial to them?
They need to change the loan to value to a higher loan to value.
Okay.
And as much as I would like, you know, I'd like to do the loan on that, if they're already down the road and everything else is going fine with the lender, I don't mind talking to the lender.
Yeah, I mean, I may get you in touch with her if you don't mind, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we're already past due diligence inspections and all that, so it's
Yeah,
we're
you
in
know,
the-
and I learned this from some other lenders. I'm in some fantastic groups, and I learned the strategy from some other lenders. So, you know, I'm a big believer in giving back. So I am more than happy to teach some other lenders how to do this, and would love the opportunity to you know, to help your buyers from the get-go. But
Okay.
if you're midstream and you need to get to the closing table, by all means, I'm more than happy to teach this strategy to some other lenders so they can continue to help.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate it, Paige. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Paige, I have a question for you. I want you to reach down there to your right next to your right thigh, and pull up your crystal ball and tell me what you think is going to happen with rates this year.
I think we're going to continue seeing them go up for the most immediate future. And then I think probably towards the end of the year, we're going to see them come down a little bit. But I liken it to a sale at Kohl's, where they raise their prices before they put things on sale, and then they put things on sale and bring the prices back down to where they should be. I don't believe that we're going to see them in the 3s by the end of the year, but I do believe that they're going to kind of peak and then come back down. And the reason I believe that is because indicators are that we are heading towards a recession. Yesterday was the first day that we saw the 10-year and 2-year yield spread dip below the 10-year is now less expensive than the 2-year. And that has been historically an indicator that we've got a recession pending. It's just, you know, how many months out in the future before that recession starts. Recessions historically have been very positive for interest rates. They also have been very positive for home prices. Home prices will continue to rise. And, you know, maybe we're looking at rates right now, 5.5. I've even quoted some things up in the 6s for buyers that do not have 760 credit scores or better. I think we'll see mid 4s again by the end of the year.
Do you think that we'll keep the appreciation? I mean,
Yes.
the appreciation is just off of the scales.
Yes. All of the market experts are saying that, or at least they started out the beginning of the year saying that the rate of appreciation was not going to maintain in that 20+%, that we would see something that was going to be more in the historical 5%, at least single digits, anywhere from 5 to 9%, depending on the expert that you listen to. We've not seen that. And they were all saying back in the beginning of January, they were all saying that we would start to see the appreciation rates slow down by now. And we've not seen that. And it's purely supply and demand driven. And as long as you've got the competitiveness for a particular house, and it's the buyers that are driving that price up. You know, one of the things that I used to always tell my sellers that were particularly the ones that wanted to overprice their houses, you know, you can always overprice a house. You can never underprice a house because the market is always going to drive the price of that house up. And a buyer is always willing to overpay for a house, but it has to be their idea, or they're not always willing to overpay for a house. But if they're going to overpay for a house, it has to be their idea. It cannot be the seller's idea where they've overpriced the house and the buyer reluctantly pays over. It is that competitiveness, that auction effect where buyers know that, you know, the seller is starting with the list price here. That's the opening bid for the auction, and that you are competing with other buyers and they're driving that price up because of that. And until that dynamic corrects itself, we are going to continue to see rapid escalation in appreciation of homes.
So what I was thinking is, when this appreciation that keeps rolling, they'll be able to drop off that mortgage insurance, right?
Yes.
I mean, they'll be able to drop it off. I don't know if there's a time frame for it or however it works nowadays, but obviously when they get that 20% appreciation back into it, they can go and refi.
They can. And one of the beauties of like the strategy that I've just showed you, let me take the screen. Let me unshare my screen here. Is they're paying a one-time premium. So they're not paying that monthly. So there's nothing to drop. As long as they're in the house for 3 years is about the break even. And under normal circumstances, they're going to be in that house that long before they've got the opportunity to refinance and drop that mortgage insurance, particularly if they were in the house, you know, going in with minimal down payment.
I had mortgage insurance one time and I refied out of it, and I think it saved me like $256 a month or something. So this is a one-time deal.
This is a one-time. Yep. And this particular illustration, had I shown it monthly, mortgage insurance is based on, it's an insurance premium, and it is also risk-based pricing. And it's based on the loan to value. It's based on the buyer's credit score, and the type of loan. So this particular instance, had they been paying it monthly, it was going to be like $40 a month.
Gotcha.
So it's not always an astronomical number. You know, if they were putting 3% down, that number is going to be a whole lot higher. If they were doing an FHA loan, that number is going to be a whole lot higher. If they had lousy credit, even if they were putting 15% down, that can also affect, when I say lousy credit, anything, you know, if it's the lower the credit score, the higher the risk, the higher the mortgage insurance.
I appreciate it. This is good. I'm glad I recorded it so I can use it and share it with other people when they ask me these questions with our other agents, because I only invited like 10 agents to this call today.
Yeah.
That way I can get all of them can see the video I put on YouTube or something.
Well, I know you had said everybody come with questions. I want to make sure that I've got the questions answered with whatever amount of time we have if we're done. If we're out of time, that's fine. Y'all forward me your questions and I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you one-on-one.
Drop your information in the chat box for us, please.
All right.
Daniel, is that production call tomorrow, Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Production call tomorrow, then what's tomorrow, Thursday, then Friday, there's the book club call, Realtors Between the Covers. Did y'all see the logo for that? I have to shoot it out to y'all. It's I didn't I can't send it. I mean, I don't have it on this computer, so I don't have a way to get to it. But the logo is pretty cool. Realtors Between the Covers. And then I'll also send out, well, you guys saw the strategy real estate partners on the text that I sent out this morning to this call. Yes, you love it. You love it.
Oh, wanted to mention to you too. This particular strategy is fantastic for those buyers that you ever taken somebody out and go, what do the homes in that next price bracket look like? Or was that just my buyers that I used to work with? Where
Yeah,
they're always wanting to look at something a little more expensive.
we always want something that's more expensive than we can afford. I mean, that's human nature. That's like desire. Desire is a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you meet that goal, and then you want more. It's human nature.
Yep. The kind of the same dynamics of the same appraisal gap strategy can be used in other ways. I had another client that came to me. One of the first things I always want to know is, you know, what that buyer's priorities are. Do they want the lowest monthly payment, lowest cash to close, lowest interest rate? They can get two of those three. They can't get all three, not at the same time. And I had a particular buyer just recently, lowest monthly payment was his number one priority. Number two priority was least cash to close. He was selling another house. He had some money. We looked at putting 20% down or 15% down, this exact setup for this appraisal gap strategy. He was adamant, did not want to pay monthly mortgage insurance. Okay. But he wanted the down payment of the 15% down, but he wanted the monthly payment of the 20% down. And he's like, he was real sassy and was like, so how can you make that work for me? I went, let me show you. And I already had the strategy put together and showed him. And it was like one of these mic drop kind of moments, because what I showed him was like, okay, here's your 15% down. Let's add another $5,000 to that. Still saved him about $15,000. Got his monthly payment within $18 of putting 20% down. Exactly the same sort of structure as what we did with the appraisal gap. His house appraised, so we didn't need to utilize it from appraisal gap standpoint. But he was like, how'd you just do that? How come the other lenders that I'm talking to have not even mentioned the strategy? All they've done is shown me the 15% or the 20%. Like, you told me what your goal was, and that was to have the lowest monthly payment, not pay mortgage insurance. He was more than happy to pay his $1,500 or $1,200, whatever it ended up being. He was more than happy to pay a one-time premium because he was going to be in this house. This was going to be their forever house.
You
And
throat
his
punched him. You throat punched him.
Yeah.
Got it done.
Yeah. And you know, he was thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So, you know, I've got lots of tricks up my sleeves, and my end goal is to help bring a creative solution to you and your clients so that you can sell and close more houses. You're working too hard for your money today.
I heard that. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? I want to end this now before minutes past. I try to keep us on our task here, but that's phenomenal. Great information. And you're going to help a lot of people. We'll get you some stuff. We'll get you some deals thrown over your way for the info too.
I would love to help.
I don't work with that many buyers, but you can have the next one.
That's all right. Your sellers are going somewhere, right?
That's it.
I can tell you where
Thanks,
they're going.
Paige.
I can tell you where they're going. I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you. Thanks,
You're
guys.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. Look forward to getting to talk with and work with the rest of you.
Hey, we're going to do some more of the stuff that you hit on. We'll do some more over the next weeks. Appreciate
That
it.
sounds fantastic.
All right. Thank you.